Oh, I heard a mic drop.
Oh, there we go. Finally, you know,
No kidding. No
we'll
kidding.
get this to work somehow or another. Hey, Clay, it's finally great to meet you, or see you, I guess, in person or whatever. Um, Being out there campaigning and doing what I can. I was the last entry into the race. Felt I needed to do it, and I don't know. Things are. I think things are looking really good. I think people are saying they need something different, and they definitely believe that a lot of our institutions and stuff like that need help too. And I think that's
That's
great
good.
from your perspective. So, um,
So when is the election, Kyle?
well, it started on the 11th and runs to the 24th for us.
Okay.
And voting has been pretty minimal from what I understand right now because a lot of people, you know, mistrust in our governments, institutions, and whatnot. This has been something that's going on for quite some time, but I think some are sitting back a little bit and just waiting until they hear a little bit more.
Yeah.
They've made it easier with phone in systems now, which I know a lot of people have issues with. That's a whole different topic, of course, but it's what we have right now and what we got to run with. So, but I wanted to do this so that many within our community can get a better understanding on a number of things that are going on within our police services, or better yet, with those that are serving within the services, and actually other services as well. So I'd first like to thank and welcome you, Clay. You're Clay Farnsworth, who I believe is a retired police and military serviceman and a member of
Retired.
the Police on Guard for Thee, which is a group that consists of active duty and retired police officers who have assembled to create a haven of truth and justice for all members of law enforcement and the public. And I believe this has expanded outside of these organizations as well. But maybe I can ask you, Clay, to give us a better idea on what Police on Guard for Thee is.
Okay, you bet. Well, first, you're right, Kyle. I'm a retired RCMP member at 25 years. My service was all in Alberta. I joined the RCMP in 1980 and took my retirement in 2005. Police on Guard was actually born in December of 2020 after an incident in Calgary where there was some younger gentlemen out skating on an outdoor rink, and there was an arrest made and it became quite violent. And actually, some policemen in Ontario who are still serving saw that on TV, as many of us Canadians did, and they felt that it had gone too far within our charter rights, that the charter was being abused. And so these and the two guys are still with us today, but there were more eventually that helped form Police on Guard. And they reached out to an MPP in Ontario at that time, who put them in touch with each other. And long story short, Rocco Galati came on board with Police on Guard to represent them. And Rocco's with the Constitutional Rights Center of Canada. I'm sure you're well versed with his background. And then in late December, between Christmas and New Year's, they put a call out on social media asking for support from retired and active duty policemen from across Canada who felt similar in that our Constitution and our Charter of Rights and Freedoms were being abused and trampled upon by all levels of government. And I immediately joined, threw in my support, and and we have a vetting process. So I was vetted by one of the founding members, Matt Blacklaws is his name, and is a great guy. And I've been involved with Police on Guard ever since. So yes, we did start out with just policemen, retired and active duty, but it grew. It grew so fast and beyond that we welcome serving and retired military, active serving and retired Canadian Services border agencies, Correction Canadas and the provincial correction agencies, and firefighters right across Canada. So our numbers are in the thousands now with people that believe that our charter and our constitution is being abused by the federal government.
Yeah,
So
and
that's pretty much police on guard in a nutshell.
yeah, and like you said, this has actually trickled down into our, from at the very pinnacle, I guess, and then trickled down through our into our municipal areas, which is important to me. Of course, it's all important, but it's trickled down throughout the whole system, I guess you can say. And I remember actually that case where or not that case, but the situation in regards to that younger guy skating. That was just, well, I think many of us saw it, and it became very concerning. With where are we going, sort of thing. So, but I'll start off with some of these questions, and hopefully you've got some answers, which I'm sure you do for me. But how many do you believe? How many do you believe that have left the services which your organization represents over the past few years within Canada, and why do you think this is?
How many serving members have left their police agencies? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. The unfortunate part is we would have to extrapolate or take a best guess at that. We have no way of really knowing how many guys have left because not everybody reaches out to us to tell us that they're gone. And the police agencies, I'll be very honest, they're not going to release that information. I've reached out to some serving members that I actually trained when I was in the force that we still stay in touch with. And they're not even getting an inkling from within their agencies as to how many guys are leaving. But I can tell you that those that I've spoken to that have been placed on leave, unpaid leave for their choices, none of those guys that I've spoken to will be going back. They're that disappointed with their police forces. So if you were to use government numbers of saying that 90% are vaccinated and 10% aren't vaccinated, you can pretty well roll from that 10% that they're going to lose that amount of members anyways.
Yeah, and it's noticeable. Like I think people in the public notice it as well. It's noticeable that in many of these services, people are missing, of course, and it's not.
They have to know the calls of service just aren't happening like they used to.
Yeah,
Police aren't responding to many different events now from what we used to respond to, and I get calls in my community from people. What can we do? They're actually very disappointed in the policing services that they're served by now. And not just in my community, I get calls from friends across the province saying, this has happened. I just can't believe that guys are doing this, because when you serve across the province, you develop a lot of close friends and a lot of close ties. And they know the work ethic and how the police force used to be. And they've all noticed drastic changes. And so the public is becoming very frustrated. And I cannot imagine being a serving member today in good conscience and trying to go against what I know is wrong. It's just I couldn't do it. I literally, as a human being, as a policeman, I could not do this.
Yeah, and I guess what you're referring to is like some of the things that were imposed on individuals, where a number of individuals thought, hey, it's not just an oath thing, it's a moral and ethical thing, and a human thing, I guess, where they're saying, why are we being forced to actually conduct these types of actions towards our public, which we're supposed to protect and whatnot. I gather that's what you're kind of saying as well.
It is exactly that, and I'll give you an example. One of the guys that I trained in the field told me that he was at the Coots border incident in February in support of the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa. And he was one of the policemen there on the line, and he's a senior member. He's got close to 20 years, and he's very ethical and has high levels of integrity. And I loved the kid when I was training him. And he said, what is our authorities to be doing this? What's our authorities to close the highway? Because he knows. And nobody could give him an answer. And he said, then don't ask me back here. I'll do my shift today, but don't ask me back here. when I attended to Coots, doing a food run in support of the guys, and we were blocked off, I asked the members the very same question without knowing that and I'll leave him nameless because he's still serving. And we do protect the guys who are serving because of repercussions that fall out from the police forces. In any event, I asked the members on the scene, what's your authority to close the highway? And they gave me some cock and bull story without knowing that I was a retired member. And I said, wrong. That is not an authority to close the highway. And I said, try again. And eventually we got to the point where I said, you know what? You guys have no authority without a ministerial order. And they looked at me and I said, yeah, I'm a retired member. And I said, I know my authorities. You guys should maybe learn them. And it took us quite a while. They did let us through. It took us 9 hours to do the food run. Jesus. But I was literally embarrassed that frontline policemen couldn't answer a simple question, whether it be from a civilian or a retired member or another member, what their authorities were in closing the highways.
Yeah, and I guess from a few points here, putting out there, one thing I found interesting is that obviously there's a lot of service workers out there, or those in police services and whatnot, that, like you said, they're kind of sitting silent, or they're supporting what you guys are saying, obviously, because it's the issues they're having. But it's very difficult for them to come out within, their own precincts and whatnot to actually talk about these things, because they could be in, it could put them in an uncomfortable situation for sure. And then the other thing is that, it sounds like either, where you're talking about having to wait 9 hours, it's either a situation where they're saying they're being pushed into the force, or not really understanding what their real authority is and how it should be put forth into the public, or they actually just, unfortunately don't even know, which is even the sadder case, because this is what they're coming through as they're being trained. So I could see those all being big issues. Now, I understand, and I think everyone understands, that big government has its hands in all sectors of our town. And I often hear mayors and councilors say it's the government's fault, or or it's their areas of jurisdiction. At what point do you feel the mayors have a moral obligation to their community if it's in harm, where they should step up and take action against these things? And what do you think they could do working with their local police forces to, I guess, make things better? Because I hear tons of things where officers, I have a family member as well that's officer, and you hear all sorts of things, but the most craziest thing is I hear people driving up and down the streets or whatever and saying they see people on warrants, but they can't even arrest them, or because they're just going to be put back out on the streets and stuff like that. What is going on, and what can we do from a municipal standpoint? Whether, like I said, I know it's a government thing, but at what point does the mayor and the council members and even the police chief in that have a say of saying, look, you know what, we need to do the right thing here and step up and protect our communities?
We actually have to go one step further than the mayor and town council or councilors. We have to have the people in society, in your community, say enough is enough.
Exactly.
We've had enough of this. If the people start putting pressure on their councilors, their mayors, then of course it's the ball that has to be rolled uphill. And I've served on council. I did my turn and doing my civic duty and was a counselor in my community. And you realize you're just a small spoke in a huge wheel when you get into that, because every level of politics is going to affect you. But you can only be as effective in politics as your people want you to be. And we're seeing terrible apathy within Canada right now, and people not caring about what the government or who the government is. And people in Canada, in my opinion, have basically washed their hands. They no longer trust their representatives, And all you have to do is look at civil elections that are happening. There was one recently in Saskatchewan where less than a quarter of the population eligible to vote attended to vote.
Wow.
So you're having decisions made by less than 25% of your population. And when we take a look at our last federal election numbers, I don't think they're much better. So the apathy is there. And so if we're going to affect change, it has to start with the community. And it's no different in policing. I've always told people because we transfer around a lot in the RCMP. So when you get into a new community and you start opening the doors and introducing yourself and letting them know. For years, I've told people I can only be as effective in the town policing as you want me to be. Because the people in the town see things that I don't. And if you don't want me to fix those problems or deal with those problems, then don't tell me about them. If you want me to take action, I need somebody to tell me that this has been going on. And case in point, and a perfect example of this is one of the places I was posted in Alberta. There'd been horrific spousal abuse going on for years that the community and neighbors knew about. And nobody ever told us. And then it finally came to light and we were able to do something. There was 2 of us involved in the file. We were able to do something, and the more we investigated, the more we learned, and the more we learned, the more we were appalled. The more we were appalled, the more charges that we brought forward. And we had someone come up to us one day when we were working on the file, and they said, "It's about time you guys did something." And I've never forgotten that, because we didn't know. As soon as we knew, we took action.
Yeah.
And I told the person, how long did you know this was going on? Oh, it's been going on for years. And I said, so you allowed it to happen. So that's why I say it's not just up to the mayors and councillors. It's up to the community. You can only be as effective as your community wants you to be.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people say that they really want a sense of community in that. And I see people moving to like towns that I'm in Belleville, Ontario, where they're leaving larger cities and that because they want that sense of community and stuff like that. But they really, and this isn't their fault, this is just society's fault. But they really don't know what community means, right? It's almost like we all should go to a Amish community and actually watch how collaboratively these guys work in that and how they do certain things and stuff like that. We need to have some kind of reminder of what we need to do in our community and get involved. And as far as policing and stuff like that, like you said, you can only do as much as your community is going to allow you to do. But you need also representatives that are going to, bring that forward to the police chiefs and the police in the area and say, listen, you know what, we're really getting this push and we need to do these things. So how do you think, that perceived conversation would go with the chief if someone said, hey, listen, there is a lot of damage, a lot of theft going on within their, little communities here and there, a lot of vandalism and stuff like that is occurring at times, and, we're not seeing the response that the public really wants. And are your hands tied, or what's going on? What can we do to actually help you? Like, how do you perceive that conversation going and where it should? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'll let you answer this.
Oh boy, that's a can of worms if I've ever been thrown one. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I know exactly where the chief is going to go today. Is he's going to blame the fact that the council's not giving him enough money to run enough manpower, and it's become when we ask for something, we ask back for more, and it's become that horrible vicious circle. And so I can see where the chief was going to go with that right off the bat. Really, unfortunately, I don't know, other than being honest and continuing to push for it. And I mean, they can make shift changes. They can do things within their power. But I can tell you right now that every police force is extremely strapped because they're not recruiting. Nobody wants to wear the uniform anymore. The RCMP, for one, has lowered their standards to where you don't even need to be a Canadian citizen anymore.
Yeah, and
I personally have a problem with that.
Yeah, and I understand. I can see too. Like, I think the last number of years, even before COVID or whatever and whatnot, there has been a beatdown of people that have been serving and whatnot. And at the end of the day, like if anyone rationally has a beef with the police or what's been going on and stuff like that, you have to think about it. And it's like when you're in need, you want them there. So like you can't say abolish them or whatever. I don't know what the terms were, defund or whatever. Like you cannot
Defund the
say
police,
that.
yes.
Yeah, the answer is fix the situation. We need better people in there. We need more promotion for people wanting to take this job and this valuable task on. And then also, I guess maybe you need your mayors and councilors to have more of a relationship with their police chiefs and that to say, hey, listen, it's not always about the funding and whatnot. Let's try to create a community where our community works with you to make your jobs easier and create an environment in our community that we all feel safe and effective, or that you guys can do your job safely and effectively. But yes, you're right. It's a lot of conversations, and then I feel like what we get from that from some of the police chiefs is not only the funding situation, but my hands are tied because once again, federal and provincial. So what I wonder is how do you step over beyond that? Like at what point does your police chief or your mayors and councilors how are they able to come out and say, listen, this stuff is going on in our neighborhood and we can't even arrest these guys because they get out on bail so quickly, or we need to take action, and this is what can we do to start the cycle, I guess, of correcting this.
And again, that's going to go right back to the very first thing that I said. It's the power of the people, because what you've seen now is the federal government interfering beyond their levels of what they should be in the court system. So we're getting interference towards a softer, kinder court that isn't working, because we've had the revolving door on criminals even when I was in the police force. Mm-hmm. That before the paperwork was done, they were out the door. Although we could hold people for things considerably easier than the members are being able to hold people today. So we could get a 48 or a 24-hour remand to get somebody into court, where today the judges or the JPs, depending on the level of court that you're dealing with, are releasing people on simple things. And where I'll go with that is property crimes. Mm-hmm. You cannot get a judge to throw somebody into a remand on a property crime for love nor money. And a perfect example was I had one person, his criminal record was 17 break-and-enters into a dwelling home. Okay, a dwelling is different than other property. A dwelling is your house in the criminal code. And the maximum sentence in the criminal code for break and enter into a dwelling is life imprisonment. Okay, you'll never see it, but that's how serious the criminal code deems break and enter into a dwelling. This guy had 17 previous convictions.
And he still was at
17 previous convictions, and the judge released him on 4 more charges that I had.
So what do, like I said, like, say if our community, because I think our community is getting fed up. Yes, we are actually understaffed in comparison to a lot of places in that too. So maybe that's something that can be addressed or whatever. But I think, the biggest thing is that these officers that are out there, like there's young guys, there's older guys that are very jaded, there's younger guys that are just like disappointed because they thought they were actually going to be able to help their community, and they're young in their careers, and I can't see them lasting much longer because they're going to say, what am I doing here? But what do we, as you said, if the community starts saying, uproar, calling the police station, calling City Hall and stuff like that, and saying enough's enough sort of thing, what would be the actions that you would think, like with the police chief and with support of the community and whatnot, say, this is what we're going to do. We're actually arresting these guys and we're going to put them in here, or do these certain things. What can they do?
Or the police agency, unfortunately, is going to have to listen to what the court says. The guys can make all the arrests that they want and throw them into the system, but the judges are going to release them. So that revolving door is still going to be there. But, and I keep saying this because people need to understand that they have the power.
Mhm.
So the power is your vote, believe it or not. So you hold your MPs to account. You phone your MPs saying, we don't want this. And if you're not going to change the way you're voting in the House of Commons and start supporting the crime bills or supporting sentencing, realistic stuff, not
See you
this
later then.
pie in the
Yeah.
sky of some of the stuff that the federal government's doing, and it's basically to show that they're trying to do something when they're really not being effective. When you have the Police Chiefs Association coming out and saying the firearms laws are totally useless for us on the street, and I can give hundreds of examples of that as a serving policeman, how they do not work. And so you need to have a government that is going to be going forward with meat and potatoes laws and forcing the courts, because they actually ultimately drive the court. The Supreme Court thinks that, because you've got your three different levels, right? You've got your House of Commons, you got your Senate, you got your judiciary. So they can put enough pressure on the judiciary because our charter and our laws are good. We have an excellent criminal code. We have a good charter. When I started policing, we didn't even have the charter, and I had to learn how to deal with it and navigate it as a policeman going forward. And it made me a better policeman, in all honesty. But we need to have a government that's doing that so the people can put the pressure on their MPs. And if you're not going to do this, you're not going to have a job come the next election. You're out of here. And they can do the same with the MPPs in Ontario, because that's your provincial people, where in Alberta it's MLAs. You call your MPP and you tell them, we're not satisfied with this. If you have a community group coming together, like well, the old terms were block watch or stuff like that, you get community groups coming together that are trying to build a community, a safe community, and start putting pressure on your higher levels of government. And then town council, being the mayor and your councillors, will naturally side with your community because your job's on the line.
I would hope so, right?
Okay. So then you start holding your MPPs accountable, and then the MPPs with the town start holding your ML or your MPs accountable. So basically what it becomes is the people holding their politicians to account to the community standards that they want.
Okay, yeah. So once again, this is a lot of what I talk about is, collaborative communities and cooperative communities that work with each other. And, basically, I think, the community watch things you said, they used to be more prevalent than they are today, but maybe it'd be a good situation in our community for, those within our police department to come out and say, yes, there is some barriers that we have, and there is certain things we can't do at the moment or whatever. However, what you can do in your community is, and give them advice on, there's a lot of Ring doorbells and that now that connect and stuff like that. But say, hey, listen, you can really protect your community. You can really assist us in certain situations to be able to make things easier and deter this type of things that are going on in our community by doing these things. So maybe it's a big thing where our police chief and others come out and actually like start doing more of a community awareness sort of thing and saying, listen, these are the steps we all need to take as a community to show that we are not going to accept these things in our community, but then also so that we can actually push this forward to show that we've done everything we can, and that still some of the restrictions that our federal government or provincial governments are doing are not enough to keep our community safe or other communities safe.
Exactly. It falls back on the people, and the people need to support. In Ontario, we're seeing an unprecedented amount of members being charged by their police services for critical thinking or doing their own beliefs. And I totally disagree with every police service that's done that. I'm not going to get into who they are charged, but we ask people to go and support these people that are being charged by their police services, because we're seeing members who speak in defense of the charter and the Constitution, what they have sworn to protect, And you got to understand, when a policeman swears to whatever agency he's doing, he's giving the country or that city or that province a blank check. And that blank check is including up to his life or her life. They are willing to do that for their country, their community, or their province, depending on the police service they choose. They understand that going in, that they may die defending the people there.
Yeah, and I think this is something we need to remember as a public. I know it's been hard because all the different things that have happened over the last number of years, even like I said before, the pandemic and whatnot. But you know,
this has been building. This has been building, Kyle. What's happened, in my humble opinion, is that COVID and the pandemic and the breaches to the charter have just made people realize how much government interference there is.
Yeah,
and
no, I think so too.
Yeah, so these members that have been charged by their police forces for speaking out in defense of the charter or speaking out in defense of the convoy, I'm sorry, I want critical thinking. I want open-minded, good-thinking policemen covering my six.
I want conversation.
I want a conversation. Exactly. Let's have the debate around the law. Let's have the debate around the charter. Why won't they go that route?
Yeah,
and totally. I've thrown myself out. I've even invited the commissioner of the RCMP to debate me.
You know,
let's go for it.
There actually should be something, and we're seeing this quite apparent, where people are willing to have open discussions and conversations, and others will not sit down, or they'll make excuses for not sitting down. There's situations where they will not even accept evidence that is given to them, because if they see it, then they have to, obviously say something about it. And the fact is that we need to have these conversations and discussions if we really want to get things going and make things better. But if those individuals are unwilling to sit at a table, there has got to be something in the near future, or they don't answer questions and give you a totally different answer. I think personally there should be something that is changed, where it's like, listen, if you're not willing to sit down on the table and have that discussion or whatever, you're completely admitting that you're completely in the wrong, or that you don't have the answers. Therefore, the responsibility should be put on to us, and we will take charge of this. It should be as simple as that, because it just does nothing but cause division. It ends up costing the taxpayers more money and causing more harm when these guys seem to take, where they could sit down and take 20 minutes or a 2-hour conversation and turn it into something productive, and it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years instead, because they keep on avoiding it, right? Like, this is just complete chaos and ludicrous. Yeah.
Well, all you got to do is look, and I can't remember the community in Ontario. Is there not one of the councillors that has been kicked off a council for supporting the Freedom Convoy in a community in Ontario?
Oh, I'm sure there is. I
believe that there is. There's a policeman that's been charged by the police service for investigating over and above. I'm sorry, that is what I want. As a detachment commander, I want somebody that's thinking outside of the box. I want somebody that's going to, okay, I'm not getting an answer going down path A. I'm going down path B. And I don't care what is on path B, and I don't care who's there, especially if I start digging up stuff. You can't have political interference if you want to get to the truth of a criminal matter, because you'll never get to the truth.
This is true.
Right?
Yeah. Hey, so, oh, sorry, did you have something else to say?
I was just going to say, you have to allow these policemen to be critical thinkers, think outside of the box. Those are the ones you want. And those are the ones that the governments and the police services are shutting down because they're not within the narrative that the federal government has been pushing.
Yeah, I think we can all see that. For final, for the final questions, do you see enrollment increasing over the next few years for officers and other service workers, considering the treatment they should expect to get currently? Do you believe many that have left will return? Do you believe these individuals would make a conscious decision to flock to areas where they knew there were new mayors and councillors who would stand up for their service workers and the public's rights, where the past groups have taken what only could be described as acts of self-preservation, while at the same time allowing their public to suffer not only then, but putting them in positions where a vast majority would suffer and also suffer in the near future because of the direction we're going. That's a long-winded question.
It's a long question, and I'm going to answer the last part first simply by saying that if I was to go back into policing, which my age is going to stop me from doing that, but I would definitely be drawn to a community that wanted to work with the police, that had a council that was going to support the police, and a chief that was going to allow open and fair investigations. If the chief is going to interfere with the investigations, or the politicians are going to interfere with the investigations, that is limiting the powers that you have. Mm-hmm. Now, the most powerful thing on a policeman's belt is his discretion and his intuition as to where he needs to go in that. Okay, so when he gets to an investigation or a conclusion, he may not need to lay a charge because there may be other tools on that tool belt. That's why I say discretion is so important. Yeah. But that should be up to the investigating officer who knows the circumstances. Mm-hmm. And that investigating officer will defend his position if he's a good or she's a good policeman. Mm-hmm. They can defend their decisions to their boss. So if I have a young guy or a young girl comes in and says, I'm not laying a charge in this instance, this is why, as a detachment commander, I'm going to say, why are you doing that? And they're going to have to defend it. They're going to have to sell me on that. And if they can sell me on it, then it's not going to be a problem going forward to court or not going to court, because their decision is based on what they learned. Okay. Mm-hmm. Going back to the other two questions, are we going to see enrollment? Are we going to see people come back? I think we're in for a terrible time going forward. I don't think you're going to see the good, solid people with the high standard of morals, the integrity, the caring for the community, the caring for their country, willing to come forward because of what's happened. Yeah. I don't foresee that. And I know if I'm going to be thrown under the bus as a policeman, I don't want to be a policeman.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. And I think this goes back to further back where you were talking and discussing this. Obviously, a community where the community is wanting to work with their police departments and showing interest in saying justice needs to be taken care of and stuff like that. That's obviously got to be, something that goes through the precincts and that for the individuals that want to move to a different area or something like that, or say, hey, listen, you know what, this is a place I want to be. So, yeah. From some perspective, would you think that if they had that, or if we were really pushing ourselves forward that way, that people would be interested in coming to those types of communities more so than others? Yeah,
I would.
Okay.
Yeah, if I felt that I had the support of, number one, the community, number two, the powers that be, being the upper echelon of the police department, yep, and powers in the level of politics that I'm dealing with, either provincially or municipally, then that would be a drawing card for me as a policeman.
Okay. Yeah, because I see a lot
when you have no sense of getting anywhere, that you're not going to get the quality of people that you should have as a policeman. You need to have somebody that's going to wear their heart on their sleeve.
Yeah, I see a lot of, our current mayor, whatnot. I always see the smile on the face and the cozy relationships, it seems like, with various different institutions and departments or whatever. And I feel like it's, and I think most in the community actually look at this and go, we can see what's happening around us, and that is this nothing more than just a cozy relationship, or are they actually talking about fixing things? And if we keep going down this road or whatever, and we're not having those tough conversations that also bringing us all together as a community to fix the problem, then it's going to get worse. Yeah.
I'm going to leave you with this story, Kyle. Okay. Another young lad that I was training, and I wanted small town policing. I grew up in Saskatchewan in a farm community, and the police were very involved, and I understood that. They were our coaches and all that type of stuff. So I've always gone in early on my day shifts and had coffee with the local people in whatever coffee shop they go to. So if my day shift was 8 o'clock, I was in at 7, because that's usually when the farmers are in having their coffee. They're in before they start their day.
Sorry, Clay. I'm gonna let
Yeah.
you go with this story, but just in case we get cut off, because I put a time limit on it, and I don't know where we are. This has been really good. So
Okay.
I just want to say thank
I'll,
you before it
Yeah.
does, but I'm gonna let you go, and if we get cut off,
I'll try to be quick. In any event, I was making this young lad go for coffee with me, and he couldn't understand why. And he'd get mad. And one day there was a change, and he had to go by himself. And just out of habit, he went for coffee. And one of the guys said to him at Coffee Row, he said, "Can I talk to you outside for a minute?" So he went outside and he got some information from this guy. And later that day when we met up, he said, "I understand it." He said, "You were building trust." I said, "You're right." And I said, "It paid off." So don't always go by just going out and doing the enforcement. Build the trust of the community so that the people know that you're on their side.
That's awesome.
He never forgot that.
Yeah, and that's where we need to be, and that's what people actually want, and they have to remember that too. So,
Exactly.
because it's their minuscule actions that we've seen over the last couple of years. We know what minuscule actions and efforts can do collectively. So I think it's very evident we can do those in our communities and make a huge difference. And Clay, I didn't even get to ask some of the questions because you actually, you had some great things, and I just wanted you to go with them. Absolutely, thank you, and I hope I get to speak to you on a more personal level at another time. This has been awesome. I really do appreciate it. I'm sure the community is going to appreciate it here too and get a better understanding.
Well, I hope they do. Policing is a tough role, and I can't imagine doing it today. It was a great career, but you got to take that time to listen to the people and be there for them. And you can't always hide in the office. Good luck. Police on guard. And I'm just going to say this, that we're apolitical. We don't support any federal party because we believe in the charter and the Constitution. And that is the root for us Canadians. It started out as the Bill of Rights with Diefenbaker, and it was only improved. And Brian Peckford, if you have any listeners that want to find out, he's the last remaining signatory that helped develop the charter. He's an amazing man with a lot of wisdom, and just find some of his interviews, and it's a real eye-opening experience to hear somebody who was instrumental.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of his. Yeah. All right, Clay, thank you very much once again. Like I said, this has been great, and I'm sure, like I said, it'll help our community too to get a better understanding. You take care there.
I hope it does. And if I wasn't so old, maybe I'd come back policing in Belleville.
It'd be nice. Take care.
Maybe Clay. You need an old desk sergeant, eh?
Hey, we'd love you. Take care, Clay.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.